debate, uncut, and after show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, C-Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod the Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Revolter, JMails24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W., Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. As I say, links to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
So, and speaking of that, there was a smaller channel called The Drunk Debunk Show, who's done a video about Jaren that might be worth reviewing.
What's it called?
The Drunk Debunk Show.
The Bunk Show.
Have you got a link?
Yeah, I'm on it.
While you're looking for that, you can listen to Angels of Light interacting with Toon.
You obviously didn't observe curvature, and you obviously didn't adjust for curvature.
We did see curvature.
You did see curvature from the plane.
I 100% confirmed curvature on the plane.
You confirmed curvature on the plane from 40,000 feet. Can I please have the big screen? So, McToon, are you saying you saw curvature from 40,000 feet?
I tell you, I measured curvature from 40,000 feet. We did see curvature. I'll address the flight here if you'll just, shut your face hole while I do it.
Yeah, don't talk down to me. Don't talk down to me, Toon.
I can only talk down to you. That's the only way to talk to you.
You wear furries, dude. Shut.
When people say talk to you like you're a 5-year-old, that's all I do when I talk to flat earthers.
You wear furries, dude, and you hug children. Don't talk down to me.
Yeah, cute boy. All right. So I measured the dip of the horizon, which is a mandatory thing on the globe, and the dip of the horizon is something that it has a certain amount that it must dip for flat Earth, and it did not dip that much. So I measured the curvature of the horizon from the plane. The human body lacks the ability to identify any variation in the orientation like that. So you need to learn a little bit about the human body.
So is the horizon we see an optical location that changes?
Oh my gosh! I already answered the question. I already answered the question.
What was the dip angle? What was the dip angle that you measured off a flat baseline?
There was no flat baseline.
Oh, so did you draw a straight line to the horizon, or was it curved?
Oh my gosh! Are you?
Can you answer the question?
Sorry, you are mentally.
Answer the question before you get Pope's live shut down because you're so triggered.
Let me make this. Let me make this super clear for everybody.
Did you draw a tangent line straight, McToon, or are they curved?
Shut your face hole so I can answer the question that you've already pretended to ask.
But I've asked you a question. You're not answering it.
All right. Thank you, Pope. It's been great. You can drop in.
Run away.
So to calculate dip, he needs the difference between surface level and eye level. Eye level being parallel with surface level, which is flat. So it's absolutely correct. What Angels has got him on is, I can only assume, earlier on in the discussion, Toon's detailed a rebuttal to the Black Swan and bent the line to the horizon. So when he's calculating dip with respect to surface level and eye level differentials, he needs a straight line to the horizon. So he's absolutely screwed and then ran. Nice
Yep.
job.
At one point he went, the amount of dip wasn't right for a flat earth. And I thought like to myself, like, what do you mean the amount of dip? You're just dipping to level.
Yeah, the process requires level. You're describing a difference from surface level to eye level. Difference, the dip, is what you get when you calculate out that value based on how high you are off the surface level. You need multiple flat earth prerequisites to make this claim. And they can't even make it in the first instance because, as Angels pointed out to Toon, you've bent your tangent line now. So even if you try and infer that you've got Dingleberry Earth below a tangent to acquire a GP, for example, it won't be on the ground, but you don't have that straight line anymore. They bent it back in 2020. All bets were off for them in 2020, basically.
Yes, sir. Was this a did this take place on a show? Was there a moderator?
Sounds like it based on the distortion from Toon that it was on TikTok, not TikTok, X, because I had the same issue and I couldn't resolve it. So I can only assume that was on X. I don't know though.
Because if you get this in a strongly moderated scenario, and you just stop him and allow Angels or you or whoever to go, and then him respond, no ad-homs, knock off the nonsense with I am talking to a retard when I talk to flat earthers. He's done. He's done already, but I'm saying he's done for other eyes to see, because there's still people deceived by this guy.
Sure.
You hit it right in the head. When it was laid out, what could he do? Tuck tail and run and cry foul.
Yeah. What's he got? You're going to use a straight line that you bent in 2020. No, you're not. And your straight line is a derivative of a parallel eye level. And what's it parallel with? Surface level. You know, we use Al-Biruni all the time to show how Al-Biruni measured Earth flat. McToon thinks of what he can get away with using Biruni's methodology of measuring a flat Earth and the differential from the surface to your eye when measured off the surface, which must be flat to measure it. Yeah, you need flat Earth for this. All roads lead to a flat Earth. The moment Toon has it pointed out to him, he tucks his tail and runs away. That's fairly standard fare for a glurf, isn't it?
You must measure off a flat baseline. Otherwise, you are not getting an accurate measure. You can't, it don't work any other way. Hello?
Yeah, they need a flat Earth more than we do. Because they're making assertions about this stuff. What do I need? Beyond their measurements after they start chanting their zealotry about how Earth's a ball. Okay, how does it get measured? Oh, that'll be a flat Earth proof then. That's the end of this discussion. Like it was the end of that discussion. Once you get to the flat Earth prerequisite, they run away. They're cowards. They can't face the fact that Earth's measured flat, even when they're measuring it and presenting it. When you point it out to them, they run away. Toon ran away in Antarctica and I did the same thing to him. About your flat Earth measurements and your 10k challenge. Put the phone down on me and shouted about guns.
You know, I listened to that again as soon as you brought up his challenge and he was able to hear it without talking to you. He was gone.
What's he think to dip to, though?
What's the dip from? The dip is from eye level to surface level. In Earth curve maths,
What's
they
the-
use that difference to calculate where they assert that there's a geometric sphere edge. That's where Angels of Light's got him, because it's got to be a straight line to that point. You can't have a bent line. You're saying he's measured it? Really? All right, was it no Atmo Day, dickhead? That would have been our response. Angels of Light hasn't been around long enough.
Yeah, once the Black Swan came out, that was it. They had nowhere to go.
Hey, I got a message from Nick.
Oh, Nick. Oh, is he okay?
He says he misses us all. He sends his best wishes. He wishes he could be with us, but
We miss you too, Nick. Back at you, buddy. You won't be forgotten.
we let him down.
His name was Nick. His name was Nick.
In Flat Earth, everybody has a name. His name was Nick.
Nick was too good for us.
Somebody needs to make a short about that. That exact freaking thing with Duffy saying, "Yeah, I got an email from Nick."
No, what we need is we need it cut together with this cost £500,000 with I might have two of the actual participants who went south to Antarctica. They might change sides. And Nick emailed me $500,000. Worth every dime.
imagine spending $200,000 and some nobody called Nick leaves Flat Earth.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. How can I turn this into a meme? You need a sad face of Duffy, then a little ticket with $500,000 written on it, and then number of flat earthers to leave flat Earth according to Duffy, 1. Nick.
Yeah, but he might convince his brothers Rob and Thief.
These are all Bill Burglar's sons, aren't they? Do we want to
Do you
carry on with that?
preview the
by the
link
way?
in Master Beat, Nathan?
Well, there was.
If it's no good, then there is a video about a couple of guys discussing whether a flat earther should be raising children.
What?
It's a bit close to the bone. Or there's recently Planet Peterson debated flatoid. It is a long video though. If not, we just chit chat. Any of them see him advertising to you?
Drunk debunk or Antarctic sun footage? Which one? Drunk debunk?
From what I've seen, he's reading out Jaron's letter and he has a bit of commentary at the end, but he is liking comments underneath. That's more for your channel, really, than the content, I think.
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. What are you talking about?
I'm not getting your name out there in people's comments, whereas the video itself isn't the most exciting. As a debate between Flatoid and Planet Peterson, for example.
Is that exciting?
Or two guys discussing whether a flat earther should be raising children. That's quite edgy, as
I'll go with
opposed
that
to
then.
the drunk debunk.
Let's go with that. Have you got that?
Yeah, I can get that. I'll post it in Master V.
I'm all about the edgy one about whether or not we should have kids. I've got 2 of them.
Boy, they're really reaching, aren't they? We shouldn't even have children now. Wow.
That's something obviously close to all of our hearts, it would seem.
I also have a video from Austin from Melodome, who was switched from flat to globe.
Okay.
Another one. Nick and Austin.
2. From who? Austin.
Austin from Melodome.
Melodome.
He was that other famous flat earther, Nathan.
Okay.
We got a conundrum here. I'm hoping you boys can help me out, and you too, guest. So, just for some context, I've been married with my wife for 11 years. Been together for a while. I'm 33. She's 34.
Oh God.
And you know, when we first started dating, we're out partying together and fucking drinking and smoking and shit. You know, all the cool shit that we used to do. But as she's gotten older,
and probably completely redundant to this discussion, but going out and drinking and smoking and stuff, I don't know. Did you not go out to romantic walks along rivers? And I mean, I took my now wife to castles and places, pretty places. Drinking and smoking? Is that how people woo women these days? Am I missing something?
No, I took mine to the shore.
She's gotten fucking dumb, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. She's a great cook.
Right.
Is this guy phoning up a podcast to tell the podcasters that his wife is effing dumb? Did I just hear that correctly?
Yep.
This is America.
I don't care where you're from. That's so disrespectful to your own wife. You're phoning
that'll do.
a podcast to tell the podcasters that your wife's dumb. But Meep.
Call my girl dumb.
Say again?
I wouldn't call my girl dumb.
Is it you speaking on this?
No.
Oh, he's talking to his missus in the background. Okay, he's giving a colour commentary to someone else who's in the room with him by the sounds of things. You're off mute, Meep.
He's dumb.
Yeah, amazing mom, throws it back, you know, all that good stuff. Nice titties, nice butt cheeks.
This is so crass. Oh my God. Could you imagine, hun, as you've just walked in, if I phoned up these three twats and started calling you dumb, but saying you're a good mother and you've got a nice pair of tits, how would you feel?
And a good cook.
She said she'd divorce me. Now, that's extreme, and I know she probably wouldn't, but she'd probably be very cross with me, right? I am so lost for words. I can't quite believe my ears. You don't phone up a podcaster and tell him that your wife's dumb but has got nice tits. That's outrageous. What the hell?
But she's fucking dumb where she is into flat earth and you know, all the usual conspiracy theories. Which whatever, right? Like a lot of people believe.
See the change in tone? At the reaction initially is like, this is so extreme that it's laugh-worthy, so they're all laughing, presumably in slight shock that this guy could describe his own wife that way. Then as soon as he says that she's a flat earther, the tone changes, they all stop laughing, and I hear, you're right, or something along those lines.
Yeah, but that's projection. Seems like she's the smart one, and he's the dumb one.
Oh, you don't know that. Don't stereotype yourself just because she's a flat earther and you're a flat earther that suddenly she's going to be smart.
Well, she's obviously seeing reality, and he's not.
Like, she married this guy. Tell me again how smart she is. Yeah, I'll show you it pretty quick. Yeah, I know I have.
Right.
Fair. No, we're not gonna gloss over flat earthers as if this is just like
no. That won me back because at first I was like,
fucking dumb,
"Come on, dude, relax. It's you're talking about
earthers.
The mother of your children like this, and then
everyone knows the
Yeah, I'm with you, fat dude. How dare he?
Earth is a hexagon.
Yeah,
okay. Everyone knows that.
That's tough. But let's finish it, and then we'll.
Too much.
Flat Earth and you know, all the usual conspiracy theories. Which whatever, right? Like a lot of.
That tells me straight away that she's that type of flat earther. She's into 9/11 truth and all that kind of crap. Mandela effect. Yeah? Because she's into all the conspiracies. Which immediately makes me roll my eyes. I don't know about everyone else on the panel.
She's a believer. A lot of people believe a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
But
it's not a belief. That's why we can peg her as being a believer in flat Earth, because you're describing her as such. She knew Earth was flat. So would you, the guy on the call.
The problem is that we now have a 10-year-old, and she's rubbing off some of these conspiracy theories on him. And so, I just kind of want to get some thoughts on how I can have the conversation that, hey, it's all right if you're a dumbass, but maybe...
See, this is where I do align with him, right? If you're going to be talking to your kids about 9/11 truth or JFK or Mandela effect or whatever, then that's stupid. You shouldn't be doing that with your kids. Teach them useful things. Don't teach them things like that. That's crap. And I agree with his objection in that regard.
Maybe we should give our kids a chance to not be dumbasses. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. If you're just teaching them a conspiracy theory in the terms that we know that to mean, then yeah, I'd agree. Teach her critical thinking. Teach her logic. I think he said it was a he, actually, the son. Teach him logic. Teach him discernment. That's what you teach them. Don't teach them about 9/11. No. You teach them how to unpack anything that they ever get told by anybody ever, because lots of people lie to them. Teach them good logic so they understand the base principle of something that some claimant makes to them at face value. It can be assessed if they've got that skill. Don't just say, don't teach them conspiracies. Why not? I find them entertaining as much as the next man. But it's certainly not something that I'd expose my 8, in this case 10-year-old to. For what purpose? How's it going to help them? How's it going to enrich their education structure? It's not.
Love the podcast, love what you do. And hopefully we'll hear this on a free podcast. All right, thanks. Bye.
Oh man, this is tough.
I don't even know where
this is real.
Yes.
But would you consider Santa Claus as a conspiracy? Because he has lots of little helpers and
yes,
the presents. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do kind of teach them conspiracy theories in a nice way.
I don't. So I mean, my kids are aware of how that's a fantasy, how we imagine those things to be true. So while I do indulge in all the Santa Claus stuff, both of my kids are acutely aware of what is fantasy so that they can enjoy indulging in it. But there's never an awkward time where we have to say, yeah, she's 12 now and we have to eventually tell her that Santa's not real. That's never going to be a conversation. And should my overhearing kids be on the other side of that door hear me say that, they're not going to suddenly have a hissy fit because they've been deluded into the idea that the man's really coming down the chimney. The chimney that they made out of cardboard. You're like, no, I'm a realist with my kids. Now, for Brits, it's really easy to do, right? If you're thinking, well, how do you broach this with your kids, right? Do it with something that's less consequential than Santa. Do it with something that's a different culture's focus. Because we don't really focus on the Easter Bunny in England, do we? It's mentioned, but it's not really a big thing. So when it comes to Easter, if you talk about how you will be imagining the Easter Bunny, you get the general idea how it's less consequential and therefore an easier in if you're a Brit indoctrinating your kids with Santa coming down your bleeding chimney. But that's what some people are trained to lie to their kids with Santa.
Yeah, but that's devastating. I know you remember Mary Mom. She was devastated when she heard her parents talking and came to understanding that Santa Claus was fake. So that does affect people.
Maybe.
So I agree with the way you do it. Yeah, they know it's a fantasy. She didn't. She thought Santa was real, and a lot of people
Let me tell you, just around this, as it's previously been Christmas, very recently, right? So I like to teach my kids discernment, critical thinking, logic, all those things that I've detailed, right? That's the approach I take with my kids. Now, at breakfast on one of the days leading up to Christmas, we've got these elves. We've somehow accumulated several of them. But they're always doing weird things, and me and my wife set them up to do weird things, like lots of parents do. Now, one morning, the elves have peed. That is to say, there's lots of peas all over the place, right? And I wrote something out in peas. We've peed. Something like that. Just something a little bit crude for kids. Now, while my youngest daughter sat in front of these elves, she's studying them. She says, Daddy, and yes, Clover, these elves have got stitches on them. That's right, Clover. These elves have got a tag on them. Yes, they have, Clover. This tag says the name of this elf on it, Daddy. Yes, that's right, Clover. Yeah, they can't possibly be walking around and doing this stuff in the night then, can they? No, that's right, Clover. We pretend. You know we pretend they do. Oh, yeah, that's right, isn't it? We pretend. Okay. Following day, right? She immediately engages with excitement at the prospect of them abseiling down the Christmas tree. She fully engages in the fantasy. She's not upset. She's not suddenly, well, I can't engage this with fun and delight anymore because I know it's not real. Not at all. She just knows where the line's drawn. She's 5. So she can still absolutely, without question, enjoy these elves in spite of her critical awareness telling her this isn't really happening the way I'm being told. And we do tell her, oh, what have they got up to, naughty elves? But deep down, I know that she knows that we've done it. Doesn't mean she can't enjoy it. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say we're preempted with Santa with the Tooth Fairy. I remember laughing to myself when I realised how could it be true. Obviously, it's my parents put the pound coin on my pillow.
Yep, same here. Same thing. And when they start questioning it about what the Tooth Fairy can and can't do, you reiterate it. Look, this is a fantasy. Just enjoy it. Just go along with it. Don't be such a misery. And then it's a different spin on it. Yes, the Tooth Fairy's coming.
I was grateful for the money.
Wink, wink.
By the way, economics has reached the Tooth Fairy. It's like over $20 a tooth now.
Whatever you want. You're the parent.
Yeah, you try sticking $1 under your kid's freaking pillow.
We do. We stick a £2 coin. my eldest daughter did say, I don't like the coins. I don't like the feel of them. Oh really? What would be the alternative? A note? What you mean? Something of higher value?
No, she's telling you right now. What am I going to buy with a coin, Dad?
Man, the youngest the other day, I took the car into the garage, and we had to walk to our swimming lesson. And my youngest daughter went, oh, "Can't we get an Uber?" I went, "Where the hell have you learned this language? Get an Uber." It's like, no, we're walking. I'm not made of money. 5 asking for an Uber.
What's funny is, Nathan, you're just explaining how you live a normal life, but to the gentleman in this video, you can't possibly exist. Your kids must be subject to something extreme or extreme information because you know that sea level is as it's described.
I don't see any of what we do particularly being extreme, but there's plenty of people that are equivalents to us in Flat Earth that I wouldn't want my kids listening to at all. I'm not going to name any names in this instance, but there's plenty on that list. I'll be like, I'm going to leave the room because I'm listening to this Flat Earther, so I'm not going to be around them anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be plenty of people who go, well, you use plenty of foul language and you chastise people. Yesterday I was telling somebody I hope that they were defiled by Satan. So, it can get quite graphic here. But by the same token, the gusto is justified and it's a contentious subject that's very adult. So from that perspective, it wouldn't necessarily mean that I would shy away from my kids hearing that, other than the strong themes that are conjured by the words that I use sometimes, which can be very adult.
Wow, like I hope Satan rapes you?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. I tried to put it in slightly more careful language this time. This video is definitely not getting monetized now. Thanks, Neil.
Nathan, are you live at the moment?
How are you?
Hey. Good morning, folks.
Hello.
Hello. Good to be here. We're actually partly way through a video, which we've done a couple of times now, which is to say I do the sound check for a video and then end up just responding to it in the pre-show, which I should really get out of the habit of doing, as most recently I've been criticised, get this right, in a video where the guy's taking very small chunks of an hour and a half live stream and saying, this guy's ignored the first 3 minutes of my video. when in fact I've just done it in the pre-show, and suggesting that means I'm behind a paywall and censoring the truth. You're like, let me get it right. You're going to cherry pick various different bits to respond to and moan that I've left 3 minutes in a pre-show that gets published in 2 weeks' time on my second channel. Like, okay. Did you respond to the entire hour and a half live stream that we did? No, not that I expect anybody to. In any event, you can see him on a shorts video with his little blue X eyes saying, yeah, Earth's measured flat, because it is. So check that out. Might actually bring it up just so people can see it in the meantime. This gets people to see just how slick I am at bringing up videos on the fly.
Most localized structures are measured flat.
Just a fact when we say Earth's measured flat. That's not like some subjective truth that I can withhold temporarily.
I mean, most localized structures are measured flat.
In the 2 points in the vertical direction rise, and then divide it by the difference in the horizontal direction run. It does not seem complicated because, hopefully, it is not complicated.
I mean, most localized structures are measured flat.
In surveying, rise over run is a way to calculate the slope of a line, or how much something changes vertically compared to how much it changes horizontally. It's also known as the slope or gradient of a line. A gradient is a complicated word for quite a simple concept. The gradient refers to the change rate or how steep a slope is. The following sketch should help.
I mean, most localized structures are measured flat.
Ah, there you go. Check that out in my latest shorts video. Yesterday's live stream did especially well. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it was a little bit longer and therefore exposed a few people that might have been in bed to the show. But it did slightly better than typically. After a few hours, it had already reached 1,000 views. So that's wonderful. Maybe everyone's just still really keen to hear people's responses to Duffy's little circuit trip that he's doing after the fact. So our response to it is maybe just people are interested in the subject still. In either event,
maybe it was the quality of your content and all the credit goes to you.
I mean, we do what we do. Nothing's changed. I mean, I get the sarcasm, but by the same token, it's just, no, we do what we do, regardless of what we're responding to, and our responses don't change. If we're nothing but consistent, sometimes that will get people's back up. Well, it's the same show over and over again. Like, what do you want me to do? Change the Earth's measured flat? That will be what it is from now until eternity. I can't really do much about that. You want me to change how I say it? Earth's measured flat. That'll change things. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're consistent. So I don't think it's because I've done something particularly grandiose or exceptional in that particular video that's got people's attention. I do just think it's because people are still interested in terms of our rebuttal to Will Duffy when he's out on the circuit saying, well, what's Flat Earth going to do now? Shut your channel, shut your...
Yeah, Nathan, I was just talking about...
Just one sec.
Sorry, mate, go on.
Go ahead, Sensual. We'll come to you in a sec, Angels.
It's just interesting that he's invoked effectively disco ball Earth, but what does he say when he finds out that the GP of the star is beyond the horizon? So the plane of reference goes beyond the horizon.
Who are you talking about?
The gentleman who said that all construction is locally flat, or we treat Earth as locally flat in that shorts video.
I don't know. I didn't ask. This was just me taking a section of his video like he did to my live stream. I mean, I could lean into the whole, he didn't cover the entire live stream, therefore it's propaganda, and it's just nonsense, though. I mean, I don't know his position on any of this. He's heard us detailing how Earth's measured flat and then gone, well, yeah, of course, locally flat and all that. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. That's how Earth's measured.
Angel?
I was just going to say, so I met McToon today on TikTok. I don't know if you saw the video already.
I played it in the pre-show already. I already played it in the pre-show, yes.
Yeah, so before like that little section there that you saw, I asked him, "Oh, did you get a time lapse of the attitude indicator?" He goes, "No." And then basically, I'm like, "Okay, well, how fast was the plane going, and how long was the trip, whatever?" He goes, "It was 500 miles by like 4 hours." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So did you feel the plane adjusting for curvature? And he like laughed, like everybody laughed in the chat that I was in. There was a Globy chat, obviously, and but I find it really funny because it's like he goes, he measured the horizon. And then the second I started mentioning, like, oh, so you drew a straight line to the horizon, you assumed a flat baseline, he called me the R word because, you know, he didn't know who I was. So that's pretty funny.
Oh, well, you absolutely nailed him. I could glean from the clip that prior to that, either you pegged him on Black Swan, i.e. bent lines to the horizon, as of 2020, debunking their entire premise of having an Earth curve obstruction, hill in the way, that they could measure to. So you've got him over a barrel based on them not having any straight lines to anything ever. What is it, no Atmo Day? And then you've detailed to him how he's claiming dip as his measurement. You're like, dip from what? Altitude measured off surface level, parallel with surface level. That's your dip. Yeah, you'll need a flat Earth for that. You'll need eye level to be parallel with it for that calculation that's dependent on Earth being measured flat to make it. It's Al-Biruni. How many years have we spent pointing out how Al-Biruni measures Earth flat, and Toon thinks he can get away with doing it?
Yeah, and also I love asked him, I'm like, so the horizon's an optical location that changes with weather, and then I put that little clip of the horizon time lapse. So it's like, it's just stupid.
Yeah, they're screwed 6 ways from Sunday and have been since 2020.
Yeah.
Also,
100%.
Nathan, about 2 years ago, you reviewed a BBC documentary about Al-Biruni. So anyone new to the channel, look for that in the search bar. It's well worth your time.
What, when we covered Al-Biruni?
Yeah, BBC made a documentary about how we calculate Earth radius.
Yeah, showing how he measured Earth flat. I can't remember, it was in the 1600s, it's a couple of years back, right? That we covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from that day till this, whenever anybody brings up dip, you're like, dip to what? Surface level? From eye level? Calculable for what? You to assert that there's a geometric physical sphere edge below the surface level that you absolutely are required to give you your height and a parallel with it. Well, you'll need a flat Earth for that. Give a crap what your orthographic, begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve mathematics asserts you've got. It also has surface level and eye level in it, parallel with one another. It's absolutely necessitated that surface level be flat for Earth curve mathematics. Dip's no different. Anyway, we're covering these guys, so we have covered them a little bit in the pre-show, just in case anybody accuses me of hiding what we've already covered about these three chaps in the paywall-covered members-only section for early access. If indeed you are aggrieved by that members-only pre-show that will be available to members as soon as this recording is finished in a few hours' time, then subscribe to my second channel, where you can see it for free. Anyway, let's let these guys know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by the YouTube censorship bots or by the videographers themselves. In this case, Stavy's World something or other. What's it called? Stavy's World Clips. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so yeah, please let them know. Stavy's World Clips know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that won't immediately get removed. And I'm not just saying this for my health. I've actually literally posted a link in the live stream chat as we are speaking, and there's 100 of you watching. So I'm not just saying it for my health. Please do actually toddle along and say @Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word, sent me. They're covering your video as we speak. I'm sure you'd be interested in hearing it. Something that's polite. Help them along in the YouTube algorithm. The idea being that were they to respond to us in the same way they respond to this guy who's called into their show, they'd do the same for me as a fellow YouTuber. They'd put a link to Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, and we could all share in the kumbaya YouTube love that we as flat earthers definitely do not receive. So hopefully a few of you have actually clicked on that link that's whizzing its way by in the live stream chat as we speak, and let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. Anybody got anything else to add to what we have potentially covered up until now in the pre-show, or their familiarity with this channel, or anything before we actually get into it in earnest in the live stream? Go ahead, speak now. No, nobody got any comments so far? Right, we'll get into this then. So hopefully we've left enough of a gap for people to actually toddle along and let these videographers know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so they could hopefully do the same for me in return if they were to respond. And hopefully if you've just toddled your way back, you can hear me still doing the same call to action, and you haven't missed a thing. for going and actually leaving that comment, telling them that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Really tough, actually.
This is like, he did win me back after he said the flat earth thing. Because originally when he was like, she's gotten fucking done with kids. Look, I don't have kids, but I know a lot of moms and they...
Oh, really? Well, you're very, very qualified. You know a lot of mums. Okay, just to give the audience a bit of a heads up on what's going on. A guy's called in and called his wife dumb. Said she's pretty but dumb. She talks about conspiracies, and his question is, why should I allow my kids to become dumb by hearing my wife talk to them about conspiracies? Now my son's 10 years old. So that's the general overview of what's going on up until now.
Spend a lot of time talking to these kids, so they when you don't talk to adults anymore, you basically convert to their wavelength. But then when he was like, they're flat earth, I'm like, what is your children teaching you?
I don't think there's a Bluey episode about flat earthism. I agree with you. I think this is a really difficult one because, and this is, by the way, a problem.
Has this guy got kids? I mean, the other guy just claimed he hadn't got any. Is this guy got any?
With getting married to somebody you meet when you're 20, it's like you don't know how stupid they actually are. You gotta wait at least.
Because everyone's a fucking idiot when you're 20.
Yeah, and you're meeting, and whatever.
And they probably were high in their 20s, and she probably was like, "My God, the Earth is flat," and he was like, "She's so crazy."
Yeah, totally. He wasn't even listening to what she was saying. He was trying to fuck her.
This is why you don't call into a podcast and talk about your wife, because this is how they talk about your wife. Yeah, I mean, if you want your fat podcast host to be talking about your wife and how fuckable she is, then by all means. But I mean, I wouldn't dream of it. Still covering the same thing, Paul. Are you earwigging any of this? I said, are you earwigging any of this? Are you hearing this? Just have a quick listen for a second.
This is a real big. This is tough because, I mean, I don't want to sound the alarm bells here, but it's like this is a fundamental issue because flat earthers usually are not really won over by logic and reason.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Really? I mean, in the pre-show, I was talking about how that's precisely what I want to teach my kids so they can have discernment, pull apart things that are presented to them. Not conspiracy theories, anything. Yeah? But your, what, baseless generalization and stereotyping fallacy about me is that I don't know how logic works. Yeah, I do. My dad was a computer programmer. I learned logic through him explaining the logic of computer programming to me when I was a kid. That's why I know logic. That and I was taught it in a private school. But I do absolutely understand logic. Why are you stereotyping us like this? I say all fat men have got little dicks. Just a generalisation and stereotyping about fat people generally. They've got little dicks. Is that right, fat guy? You got a little dick?
No. There's something deep and dark happening if you're a flat earther. Like, there's something deeply idiotic about the entire thing.
It's also, when do you have to...
Hold on, my wife's asking me something. Do you want to come closer to the mic? Because people might think that I'm pretending I've got a wife. Or do you just not want to be heard? You don't want to be heard. Tell me and I'll reiterate it down my mic then. Go on. My wife's repeating the rhetoric that in her mind, 150 years ago, people were challenging the idea that was new about it being a ball based on the history that she's been exposed to. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that either. But you're commenting on the flat earth aspect of it, which wasn't really what I was hoping for, Paula, so thank you. You can eat your sandwich. I know, but I'm live and I'm having a cross conversation with my wife now, so I'll carry on responding to this.
What you said is so true, Nick, where like mom, and the moms I know too are like this too. They're so busy. You picked up flat earth thing?
Right.
In the middle of...
The moms you know are busy. Oh, my wife seems to have loads of time on her hands. But we chose to lead a life that was geared that way. My wife works part-time and I'm a YouTuber. That's solely so we can focus our entire energies on our kids. That's all I want to focus on. Because you don't get the time back. Before you know it, they're a teenager and you go, oh, if only I'd have taught them this, that and the other. Yeah, you can't now, can you? Now they're completely autonomous.
Of like raising kids and shit, like that's crazy to like... If you
you're home
get into
breastfeeding and you're like, you know what? I think the earth is flat.
Pull up that iPad. I got some fucking interesting videos to watch while I breastfeed. But this is something that like usually happens.
Is that how you would go about it then if you were in her position, breastfeeding? I mean, you've got a lovely pair, son. But there we go. I mean, no, you know, I wouldn't be looking at an iPad if I wanted to know how Earth's flat. Wouldn't you look at how it was measured? Or actually engage with the Earth itself? The surface of it and how that functionally operates. Now, you'd go and look at TikTok videos, wouldn't you? Yeah, and maybe that woman would too. And you're criticizing this flat Earth wife, who's apparently attractive but stupid because she looks at conspiracies, according to her own husband. If she was listening to this, you didn't pick very well, love.
Happens to people when they're empty nesters and they fill the void with like QAnon shit.
Yeah, they've never.
Yeah, like people who are fat fill their mouths with too much food. Yeah, conspiratards are a bit like fat people that can't stop and help themselves when they consume conspiracies like fat people consume food.
Seen YouTube before, so they think everything on YouTube is
just
real.
True, yeah.
You can't even fit in that chair, mate. Yeah, I mean, you can. I'm only doing this to hold a mirror up to what you're doing to me by stereotype. I don't care. You can be as fat as you like. The fact that you struggle to fit in that chair is irrelevant. But I can do that too. Yeah, I can generalize and stereotype about what you're like as a fat man. I mean, you probably won't appreciate it very much. Like, I don't appreciate you deciding to tell an entire audience that by stereotype. I don't understand the logic. Yes, I do. I'm willing to bet that you haven't got the slightest clue, though.
So
she's dumb on many levels.
Look, I don't necessarily know if he can say, hey, I know you're a dumbass, but don't let our kids be a dumbass with you, because she's their mom. She's allowed to talk to them.
They're all cut from the same stone, right? If the dumbass dad's phoning into you, he's dumb. If the conspiratard wife has picked a guy that's dumb enough to phone into podcasts, she's dumb too. Do you think the kids are going to be any better? No. The kids are going to be stupid because their parents are stupid. So this is not a problem that can be solved by you as podcasters.
To them how she wants.
She also believes this.
She also believes it, and like you.
Yeah, that is a problem. First good thing you said. Yeah, believing things like flat Earth is a big problem. Now me, like with the current argy-bargy with Jaron and Witsit, they're talking about walking away from flat Earth. What do you mean walking away from it? Once you know Earth is measured flat, to create a globe for people to believe in, then there's no walking away from anything. You're stuck here. Because you can't walk away from demonstrable facts about how Earth's measured. It is what it is. Shout out to... Oh, I've already got it on screen. I forgot to take it off screen from last time. Shout out to Unitox Femu. Like gas law logic, natural law logic, Coriolis logic, sea level logic, elevation logic. All strange logic. Thank you for the super chat. 122 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already.
We forgot Brian's logic.
Say again? Brian's logic. Did you say? Indeed.
Yeah, adaptive list.
Yeah, thank you, Super Chat Unitox Femu, for the support. Really appreciate it. And also, please share the show if you've not done so already. Smash that share button. 2 clicks and it's on your favourite social media platform. Stick it on Bebo or MySpace or whatever it is you're using.
You said flat earthers don't believe in logic.
That's the hard part, yeah.
What kind of a dumb-ass, stupid as all hell statement is that? Flat earthers don't believe in logic. What the unholy hell?
I think he needs to counteract it, and when he's with the kids, show them things and talk about
the Earth is really round.
But this is the problem: is that when you're parenting, the parents are supposed to be a.
Have you got kids? Why is this guy talking on this topic? None of them have disclaimed how many kids they've got so far. One of them's disclaimed he hasn't got any. Fat guy looks like he couldn't attract an absolutely heinous wildebeest. And this guy in the middle looks like a homosexual. So how many of them have actually got kids to be speaking on this?
Unified
front.
That's right, because otherwise the kid knows how to start manipulating. Go to mom. No, mom and dad have to have the same opinion. We raise the same, because otherwise it can really confuse the child, and then the child sees you two fighting, and it sets up an uncomfortable environment where the kid isn't able to trust either one of his parents because he sees them fighting, vying for that child's attention and approval. So
that just sounds like you speaking from your personal experience with your parents, actually, mate. Yeah, it doesn't take much to read between these lines, does it?
Sets up an unhealthy home off the bat.
Did you have an unhealthy home? I'm thinking yes. I had nothing but joy in my raising as a child. It was wonderful. I mean, I don't know about anyone else's personal experience, but I really enjoyed my childhood. It was lovely.
Well,
and his parents,
but you got to grow up in England in the 80s.
That was a wonderful time. Let's be honest. In the centre of Birmingham.
Ability to, as you said, be a unified front for your child, to give them the easiest streamlined childhood so that it's not confusing in the house.
Well, that's...
Sorry, I've never really ever thought I need to give my child a streamlined childhood. Now, I don't tend to think in corporate terms about my raising of my kids. How can we... Eleanor, come here, sit down with me. Now, I'm just thinking, I need to streamline your childhood. What say you? You know what she'd say to me? Bananas! That's what she'd say.
It's out the window.
But
his mom believes in the flat Earth.
I mean, it's gone.
So we can just kind of, at this point, we're just trying to
salvage
the situation. The house is burned down. Get a divorce.
Unified fronts, I think, are to an extent. You can be a unified front and being like, don't bully kids. But
no, that's a good.
But there are couples who are like, the wife is Jewish and the husband is Catholic.
I'm not talking about that. No.
But what I'm saying is,
that's not what I meant.
Those are their beliefs.
But that's
really wouldn't the Catholic have to have converted to Judaism? Am I missing something there? Just maybe not very devout. I don't know. Crap example.
It's different because you're saying to your kid, hey, this is how mom grew up and we're going to celebrate her traditions. This is how dad grew up, we're going to celebrate. So you get your children used to different cultures. This is a flat earth. I'm talking about something very different.
You're again.
Why? Because you've bundled it into an idea about how people believe in things. I mean, it makes no difference to my kids in terms of how I teach them. When I teach them heliocentrism, which I absolutely do, I'll teach them in terms of how the world around them perceives the world to be, because that's how the world around them, the people in the world around them, perceive the world to be. And I've got no qualms about teaching them that. Now, the fact is, they'll have to. They can't not. My room's not that well sound insulated. Overhear some of the things that get discussed on the show. But we're not in favour of talking about conspiracies. In fact, we demean those who would choose to do that with us, let alone kids. So we don't agree with any of that. But all we do is deal with logic, measurements, science. That's what we're dealing with here. So in that regard, other than the strong undertones that we sometimes cover when we're dealing with fundamentalist religious zealots and their zealotry, those aspects might not be suitable for kids. They're a bit too adult. But in terms of everything else, what's the deal? I don't get it. I can teach my kids about the Copernican model. I can teach them all of that stuff like they would get in a school. I just don't tell them it is the world you're standing on, because I know that's not the case. Now, short of me lying to them about it, I'd feel wrong to teach them in a way that everybody else in a mainstream Western world school, or I don't know why, I have to change my tone, not Western world, anybody in any school gets taught that they're on a ball without any actual information about how that came to fruition being presented. So I would feel, knowing better than that I'd literally be lying to my kids if I taught them that in that way. Doesn't mean I can't tell them how beautiful, and I mean that sincerely, the heliocentric paradigm as a mathematical way of discerning where the stars will be is. I can still express that quite easily.
And of course you're right. But we're dealing with like, I think that actually is the, how can, if you are dedicated to continuing this relationship, right? Like, the first step is talk to your wife and be like, the first step is being like, how much do you believe? Like, actually have a qualitative discussion about like, what's going on here? I don't believe, what, just really feel her out. Is this just like something she thinks? How much does she believe it, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. So in your mind, it must be a belief. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about this belief? Now, if you were talking to a Scientologist, I'd understand this. This is a perfectly reasonable line of attack if you're talking to somebody in a cult. Me, if you talk to me about this, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe Earth is flat? 0. It's measured flat.
Unfortunately,
conversations like this is why, the layman person comes into this discussion, or 24/7, or any of these places that we are, and get their butts handed to them. Because to learn about flat Earth, what most people unfortunately have, they run into channels like these, discussion topics like this, like flat Earth, and they hear these people's perspective, and they nod along and they go, "Yeah, that makes sense," because they're not really thinking about it. It just the flat Earth seems ridiculous. No one's ever told them, "Hey, it's measured flat. Here's how." No thanks to Dave and all of them, right? So this rhetoric is exactly why people are unprepared when they come across people like us, which is a, I mean, it's a happy day for me when I get to go, what are you talking about? It's measured flat. Haven't you heard?
Might
Belief,
be
religion, huh? Sorry. All right.
Perfectly right sentiment. It's not a belief. It's not a religion. You just think it is because that's how it's presented to you.
kind of like a religion. You're talking about different cultures, different stuff. At the end of the day, religions are also just
Culture
dumb bullshit.
I know, but culture and traditions from those cultures, not necessarily the actual belief and scientific facts.
I'm just saying
we're having there's an issue here.
I know, but I'm just.
Now he's in a category error. Talking about scientific facts? No. Geometry. It's maths at best. It's definitely not science. You're in a category error. So you're talking on this subject with some seeming authority by using words that make you sound smart, like science. Oh, it's science. What about it? You're in a category error. It's got nothing to do with science. We're not elucidating the cause of any effects when we describe the nature of the surface that's measured flat.
Saying the only way to approach it where you can say, all right, what we can do is be a united front as parents about everything else. And then the message you can send to your kids is, look, we disagree on this. People can disagree on these things. Do your own research. And
again, it's ancillary to the overriding point that he's making. But actually, I disagree with that in terms of parenting. My wife and I have chosen before we had kids that we would always agree as far as the kids are concerned. That was just our stance. Now, there's others out there that might say, no, far better for the kids to see you disagree. Now, I'm not saying me and my wife don't argue. That's normal. Everybody argues at some stage, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if there's a decision that's made, it's confusing if you go, well, no, I don't agree with your mom on this, but that's okay. People disagree. No, as far as my kids are concerned, I want them to see me and my wife as one. If mom says something, it's not that they're going to come to me and get a different answer. And if they do, something's wrong, and one of them's being, slippery, the kids that is, and we need to find out why that's happening, right? But then once we find that out, we'll take a unified front on everything. But that's just my attitude. Maybe it's different for other parents. I don't know.
And figure out what you think, go to school, talk, whatever. And you don't have to believe what
my kids don't go to school. I homeschool them. We homeschool them, I should say.
Either mom or dad thinks. That's the best way you can handle it. Unfortunately, I think your reaction is correct. And this is kind of a fundamental fucking problem.
Yeah.
That would imagine your wife out of the blue. You guys have kids and she wants to teach your kid about the flat earth.
In literal terms, so you're saying, what if my wife came to me and wanted to teach my kids about the flat earth? Okay, what would you want to teach them, I would ask her. What aspect of earth being flat are you going to teach them? And she might teach them about surveying, right? Like rise over run. Let's just play my shorts video again.
The slope of a line, or how much something changes vertically compared to how much it changes horizontally. It's also known as the slope or gradient of a line. A gradient is a complicated word for quite a simple concept. The gradient refers to the change rate or how steep a slope is. The following sketch should help.
Okay, so we've got rise over run. It's how Earth's measured. Yeah? So you could detail in a useful lesson to a child about how Earth is flat, and it might lead to a useful career in measuring Earth. Earth is flat, and that is how it's measured. So when this guy, to take what he said at face value, in the most literal way he said it, why would there be an issue? So you're saying you'd take umbrage if someone taught their kid rise over run? You're having a fucking laugh? Yeah? I don't know why this guy's offering this advice. Yeah? I don't get it. Why is he offering parents advice on what they should do and not do? I don't get it.
I mean, that's fucking... What do you even do?
It's a tough thing. I mean...
You think the Earth's flat?
Yeah, I'll just like it would be tough to have such a correct.
As you've brought it up on your panel, and you're asking somebody that isn't there, that's me in this instance, right? Through a vicarious viewing of your material, Earth is flat. That's how it's measured. Now, I just gave an example where you'd lose your temper, have some issue, if your wife wanted to teach your kids about how Earth is measured flat. I'm only going on what he said literally. There can't be an issue with that.
Right? I would I guarantee that they would freak out. Like if you were the one calmly, explaining what the celestial navigation is. I feel like they would turn into the Glober. But anyway, that's speculation. It's interesting because my girlfriend, she finds me some kind of intelligent, right? But then there's this whole flat Earth thing. So it's like sometimes she wants to ask questions. Most times she's like, I'm not going to go there. I think probably because it's going to be a long discussion. One of the things that came up was like, what about like, what would you, if you had any more kids, like, what would you would teach them flat Earth? I was like, no, like, why? I just teach them about logic and reason and the same things that you said earlier, basically. And I guess she was like kind of surprised by that and relieved, I guess, because you know what? I do have to admit there are a lot of flat earthers who would and have been teaching their children about Jaren's flat Earth. I know you guys understand what I mean when I say that. Like they're actually teaching them that.
Yeah, I get it. That's it. Where I draw a distinction, because I don't have flat Earth lessons with my kids. It's absurd. That's just so far out of the realms of what they're going to get taught.
Hold on a second. How are you not going to teach kids? See, it doesn't have to be, hey, this Earth is flat. But we could teach them how things are measured flat and Earth is measured flat. What is wrong with that? I'm going to teach them something contrary to what reality is? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not going to do that either. But I do teach them heliocentrism and Christianity and Buddhism and Judaism and various other things that...
And that's where you make your mistakes.
Why? I don't want my kids to go out into the world having been, as these guys are stereotyping us to suggest that I would give my kids... They're homeschooled, so they'd be definitely in the category. There's no doubt about it. That when homeschooled, I'd sit them down and give them flat Earth lessons. Yeah, that's absurd. Now, based on the example I gave, right, with Rise Over Run, that potentially, if my kids showed interest in that area, be a lesson that I gave to her. Now, if I compare it, it's like I'm also a hi-fi enthusiast. Do I give my kids hi-fi lessons? No! But today, I'm nearly there, Neil.
Can I give you an analogy, Nathan?
I'm halfway through mine. So I don't give her hi-fi lessons. But today, she wants to make YouTube videos. Her dad's a YouTuber. It makes sense, right? But she's made a little video, and it sounds awful. So I've gone out, bought her a mic. But it means I've now got to teach her how preamps work and gain staging works so she doesn't overload this mic. So she had an hour-long lesson on gain staging today because she wants to do it. Right, that's the kind of lesson. But as a hi-fi enthusiast, am I teaching her about hi-fi? No. I'm giving her a practical lesson about something she's interested in. Not polluting her with the coloration and separation of the good hi-fi system because she's not going to be interested. If I try and... Again, I wouldn't do this, but let's, for the sake of this discussion, because they're stereotyping us like we are. If I was to sit either of them down, try and give them a flat Earth lesson in the Jaren way that Eli's just alluded to, start teaching them about the azimuthal equidistant projection and ether and stupid shit, they'd be bored out of their brains.
That's not a flat Earth lesson teaching them about ether. How dare you?
Did you come in the middle of the conversation, Neil? Because it's like you're listening to rebut.
I didn't. Then can I finish? I'm on the whole show, Eli, from the morning on. So don't insult me like that. That's number one. Number two, I'm talking to Nathan. When you turn around and say, I'm just not going to teach them about flat Earth. It's not teaching them about
but you're
flat Earth.
Repeating what we already said.
All right, Eli, go ahead. Have the freaking floor, Eli. Go ahead.
because you're repeating what we said. He's so...
he's got a bad
difficult
back. He's in
sometimes.
Pain. You do remember he's in a lot of pain,
putting
right?
back to us our sentiment on the show as if that wasn't our sentiment.
Yeah, but his objection's valid. It is valid. He's saying that's not a flat Earth lesson. Where I'm saying I could sit down with them and show them an AE map and tell
like
them
we're
Earth's flat.
saying, like his whole premise, the reason that he mouthed up is because he heard us saying that we wouldn't teach them flat Earth.
Maybe.
And I'm like, you missed the message.
Sure. If there's something practical that's useful in terms of like rise over run, something that's practically applied to Earth being flat, that's useful in a lesson, then yeah, they may get taught that if they showed an interest. Highly unlikely that they would. I'm more likely to teach them heliocentrism because that is the world that they live in England. So when they go out, and if I didn't teach it them, and they went out to a homeschool lesson, and the kids start talking about space and sky vacuums, and my eldest daughter in this example's completely unaware of it, what's she going to do? She's going to go, what are you talking about? Oh, I thought Earth was flat. And blah, blah, blah. Suddenly she's into an awkward conversation rather than an art lesson. So no, I need her to be fundamentally aware. And look, I know this is what Daddy covers, but this is what the world that you live in, this is what they believe. And I teach her in that way. Because heliocentrism is a belief. So therefore I can phrase it like that when I teach it. No different to teaching them about Christianity or Judaism or being a Muslim, all of which they get as well. So they're
Nathan,
tolerant.
who taught you when you was a child? Who taught you about the flat Earth?
Nobody.
That mean, but you're okay now. You okay?
I do have a little bit of toothache. Is that?
Yeah,
is
you're
that what you mean?
okay. That means everything is okay, Neil. Even if we don't grow up like teaching the flat Earth.
Yeah, but Neil's objection is to suggest that the version they're attacking isn't me, really. Yeah, they've bundled me in by stereotype. I have my dig about the fat guy. That's that done and dusted with. But the actual stereotype, false though it might be for us that they're attacking, is true when you phrase it in the way that they're phrasing it. If you're giving flat Earth lessons based on what Dave, Whitsitt and Jaron say, then that's egregious. Because you shouldn't be doing that with your kids, and I agree with them in that regard. Now, that might be, oh no, he's agreeing. Yeah, I am. I don't do that with my kids. I don't think people should do that with their kids, because most of what I'm bundling into that type of lesson is the stuff we oppose here. The conspiratards, the feast of nonsense. That's what we call it. Well, there's people out there teaching that to their kids. Outrageous.
That's the point I was making. I would have liked Neil to open his mic and say, you know what, I agree. But for me, it just sounded like he wasn't listening, because he would have agreed. That he's saying he was listening. So why are you acting like you have a position that I didn't think about or I was against?
I don't know.
We agreed.
He can have plenty
Can
of
we mention something specific?
Go ahead.
Like, do you teach the kids that the horizon is the edge of curve Earth?
No, I don't think the horizon's ever come up in a lesson specifically that I've taught my kids. Not that I can remember anyway. Why would it?
Well, because growing up, I watched Bill 9, and there was an episode on the horizon being the Earth curve.
Okay, I know that's not the case.
Perspective drawing, Nathan?
From that perspective, no. If it seemed worthy when you were a kid to be taught it by Bill Nye, I don't deem it worthy. That's why I homeschool. I get to choose what I teach them. Now, the horizon is not Earth curve, so I'm not going to teach them that.
Very well.
Should we carry on? Any more comments before we move on?
Yeah. I'm so tall, I can see it's flat.
I think he needs to tell Miss Christine Columbus over here to just keep running, and when she falls off, she falls off.
So your advice to this guy is to tell his wife to go run off an edge that you've strawmanned and stereotyped us with? Yeah, the same edge. This is the flat Earth education from Dave Weiss, Jaron Whitsitt. The same people will lead the flat Earth community metaphorically off a cliff when they tar them with the brush of conspiracy, which they introduce them to.
I mean, this is hard because flat Earth is just the tip of the iceberg. But truly, like,
how high is that iceberg? Will it be measured off sea level?
somebody that you, I mean, it's not going to happen, right?
This is what I think based on his call.
As the only married person here, I assume.
He says she's. He says,
yeah. Sorry.
My wife doesn't believe the earth is flat.
He says she's a great mom.
But
She's got awesome titties and a good ass. It sounds like they're fucking pretty regularly.
That's true too.
Crazy people know how to fuck.
That is a stronger foundation for a long-lasting marriage.
Is this guy masturbating while saying this? What's he doing?
Nathan.
Go on.
It's interesting that he said that flat Earth is at the tip of the iceberg, because a Guardian report, a journalist a couple of years ago, made a conspiracy pyramid and have flat Earth at the top. And in that section of the pyramid, it was conspiracy theories where if the person is involved or believes in them, quote unquote, then effectively they're out of society, they're blackballed from society and will never return.
Yeah, it's serious. Obviously, being tarred with the brush of being a flat Earth conspirator tarred isn't a positive thing to be tarred with. Again, another reason why I would want my kids to understand, so they can just nod politely when it comes up in discussion. Yeah, because I don't want necessarily people to tar my kids with being flat earthers. I know the kind of treatment that they'd receive is that. Now, being aware of the religion of heliocentrism means that they can just nod along politely when someone brings it up. And they don't have to address it. I've told them this explicitly because I know that they're exposed to this information from me. So I'm more wary of them being exposed to this information as opposed to the people they're critiquing, where they're going out of their way to poison them with flat earth feast and nonsense.
In family than like someone believing crazy politics or easily
you ain't wrong, brother.
Easily debunkable science.
You're not wrong.
What? Why is he bringing up science? Somebody else bringing up science in a category error? It's not a scientific discussion point.
He's got to do is say, like Sav is saying, yeah, figure out first of all why she's like so clinging on to this shit. But
yeah, okay. So your wife tells you Earth's flat, and the dumb man assesses the wife's mental capabilities. The smart man figures out whether or not it's flat. Your advice as a dumb man to another dumb man is figure out how deep into her belief she is. She's telling you about Earth being flat, though, isn't she? I mean, I'm speaking from a perspective that she's correct, because she is. The fact remains that she may not know she's correct. She might actually believe it's flat, making their critiques justified. Difficult position to critique, but that's the way it is.
But, you know, ultimately, who cares? Let her think it. But you should have a discussion like...
I'm glad he said that. I'll go easier on him, right? That's the attitude. Who cares? Let her believe whatever she likes. Yeah. Do you love her? That's the only really concern that you should have. Do you love her? Then everything else is inconsequential.
That's most definitely how we treat, our beloved globe believers. That's definitely how I treat them. Let them believe what they like. Earth is still measured flat at the end of the day. If that's not what they want to talk about, I'm not going to, ram it down their throat. It's just going to be a regular day.
Exactly. Up until...
And I love her.
I do love my wife dearly. But my wife specifically has been a glober for the majority of my time as a flat earther. Right? That's because while I'm doing this, she's doing other things, and she's not hyper-focused on what I do for work. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you how to read an energy meter, or, that's what she does. She works for an energy company. I wouldn't know how to do any of it because I'm not particularly interested, and neither is she, in what I do for a living. Fine. That's normal. Right? But it means that if the discussion topic does get broached, she's a globe, I say past tense, a globe believer. Because that's just how society is, and that's her excuse for remaining within the worldview. It's easier as a woman to go along to get along, and that's essentially what she told me, and has always maintained that position until probably within the last 18 months, where just the way she talks to me lets me know she knows the facts of the matter, presumably from overhearing it for an elongated period when she's walking in and out of the room like she did earlier. Right? She's going to pick up on certain facts that we talk about. And now when I talk to her, she doesn't talk to me like a globe believer anymore. Now, have I asked her? No. I've never actually asked her. I think I might have asked her because it came up contextual on a show once, but I can't remember it being something in the back of my mind that I must address with my wife. Oh, just out of interest, Paula, are you still a globe believer? I don't care.
Let me guess. There was some sort of emote, like a rolls eyes, like kind of don't push it kind of expression, right? And then we'll take it. I'll take it.
Maybe 18 months ago, yeah, absolutely, I'd agree with you. But in more recent times, my wife's brought up the subject, but she's brought it up in a way that's affirming something and seeking affirmation or confirmation of a point that she doesn't understand. But the fact that she's asking the question, I won't give you a specific example, tells me she knows the reality of the world now. Whereas up until about 18 months ago, I don't think she did. She was just a globe believer. Did I care? Did I want to convert her? No, I don't care. She'll believe whatever she wants.
You know what? Just to point out the evolution of the show, for lack of a better term. 18 months ago, what were we doing? 18? We were before that, before 2020, we were still in the wrangle dangle kind of. We were still getting things concise. With a lot of the nerdy stuff that most people wouldn't care about, that's what we were into. But when you get to the point where you keep telling people, why are you talking about all this other stuff? Isn't it measured flat? Here's a citation. And they're not responding to that. Normal people will begin to hear that. And they'll go, oh, wait a minute. Something has shifted in this conversation. Why is this guy just not addressing the fact that he's saying it's measured flat? What's that mean?
Just a quick shout out to Jason in the chat. He says, that's not normal, Nathan, in my opinion. I don't know. Thanks, Jason. Very amusing. Love the support.
Telling our 10-year-old this shit because it's cool if that's what you think or you're not convinced of evidence that the fucking earth is round.
But here's the irony.
We can't be saying shit that just makes our kids...
Flat Earth belief and Feast of Nonsense Flat Earth is equivalent to a believer in ghosts. So if you just juxtapose what they're saying with ghosts and somebody who's teaching their kids about ghosts, you'd be like, yeah, that's a bit, I don't know if I like that. Now, obviously, they're kids, it's their responsibility to raise them and teach them as they see fit. So it's not really anybody's business. But by the same token, obviously everyone's got an opinion and they're going to express it in this regard. Kids are what's on the discussion table because a caller has got kids and is asking about them. So fair enough, right? But it's still Feast of Nonsense equivalent to teaching kids about ghosts and ghost hunters or Bigfoot. That kind of crap. You look at it, if you saw someone doing that with their kids and you go, my God, that's not what I would do. That's how I would look at it. Now, it's tricky, as I keep saying in this show, to delineate between Flat Earth Feast of Nonsense and Earth being measured flat. Now, we are all tarred with the same brush, unfortunately. It's just flat Earthism.
Kid look like
an idiot,
a little crazy if he's like in polite company and talking about, oh yeah, the Earth.
Right, there is actually 160 people watching now, so I'm going to do a quick call to action as I did earlier. So please let this videographer know, which is Stavy's World Clips at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So I'm sticking a link in the live stream chat right now. So if you are amongst the 160 people who are currently watching the show, don't just take it as me saying it for the sake of it. Please do actually click on that link in the live stream chat. Go along to Stavy's channel and just let them know with a polite comment that says at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. They responded to your video over on that channel. Something that alludes to the fact that we're covering their video with the vain hope that they would do the same for me in return. If they were to do a response, they'd put a link to Nathan Oakley 1980 channel and help us along in the YouTube algorithmic love that we definitely do not receive as flat earthers. So yeah, if you are amongst that 160 people watching, please do actually click on the link if you've not done so already. Let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
But the irony is that her round butt and round titties will get flat, but the Earth is actually round, and so eventually the sex will run out, and you have to.
I don't know about that. If they're still fucking 10 years, like they've been together for 11 years.
That's nothing.
They're 34.
They've been together for 11 years. Eldest is winning me over here because what do you want? Some bitch that knows science but won't suck your dick?
What the hell are we listening to? I'm glad it's almost over.
Yes. No, thank. Honestly, no.
Yeah.
Legitimately, no, dude. Legitimately, no. I mean, this is reality. This is reality here, Mateo.
So you know,
You can say that.
Good.
My sentiment about getting into larger, discussions about this may be spot on, because you see how this is just back and forth banter amongst. Okay, I guess right now it's a very friendly atmosphere, and they're just shooting the spit. Okay, I didn't want to curse. I want us to get into those platforms in those conversations, sort of like what's his name, Joe Rogan, and just talk about it so that people don't know. I mean, people understand there's a difference between the Dave Wises and us. Like, I just feel like we're not heard enough yet.
Or at least the arguments to be out there. Like, it reminds me of when
can I say
Mr.
something?
Anderson.
Yes.
Go ahead.
On the Joe Rogan, Mark Zuckerberg interview that I think it was this week, they literally, like, within 2 minutes, they mentioned flat Earth.
See, that's what I'm saying. And I know the other guy wants to go, but real quick, I just think that people should be afraid to misrepresent the actual information, because it shouldn't be, oh, I'm speaking against this flat earther. People like these guys should say what they're saying and get a backlash from the audience, like, hold on, wait a minute. Whether it came from FED or anywhere, they should be able to point out these logical fallacies and make people afraid of treating all flat earthers like, flat earthers,
Like
essentially being bigots.
Yeah, I agree. But that means that people have got to be armed to the teeth with the best possible arguments. And yes, you're saying we're not heard enough. What I read that to mean is people haven't got the best arguments because they're not here listening to them and learning them.
Yeah.
Ready?
Let's
go.
Go ahead.
They didn't say.
Hold on 1 second. Either Meep
They
stop
are-
miking or he wants to get a word in. Meep, did you know you were off mute? Maybe not. I think Discord's got an issue where it takes people off mute in the server when they get a phone call. Anyway. Right, my apologies to the chat, and I totally agree with the sentiments. If you listen to yesterday's show, or pre-show especially, you'd be saying the same thing about me while I called people's horrible names related to Satan. So, yeah, by the same token, I'm not doing myself any favours on the show either sometimes. I can't help myself. And these lads, which is all they are, yeah, it doesn't really make a good look by reflection on this show when we're covering lads talking in this way. It's crass and it's crude. I couldn't agree more to the people who are moaning in the chat. I don't disagree with you. We will carry on till the end as we're nearly there, though. It's only a minute left.
You win. You're right. You can watch fucking Nova with your dry dick all you want, but me.
No, I've changed my mind. No, we're not going to cover the rest of it. That's it. That's where I draw the line.
Fair enough.
Sorry, if you were hoping we'd get through it. No, fat guy ruined it for you. Sorry, he couldn't help himself, and that's his fault, not mine. So we're not going to cover the rest of it. That's it. I'm done.
So I feel like there's a opportunity to grow. QE kind of, I guess, made me aware of that when he asked the Zeteticism guy, or Zetetic, I forget his channel. Somebody has his channel. Throw it in the
Zetetic
chat.
Warrior.
Subscribe to him. Zetetic Warrior. Thank you, Neil. Like,
not bad for just coming into the conversation, eh?
No,
it would have been if you hadn't have done that. Then you'd have had the high road. Now you just jumped off a cliff, Neil. But anyway, carry on, Eli.
Yeah. With Zetetic Warrior, QE said something about the way you handled the conversation with Witsit. We need to get with you and learn those techniques. And I agree with him. There's something about the way we should speak to these people. Now, Witsit has had that sentiment, but he's like Bizarro, right? So he did it for evil, okay? But like, there's something right about what he's saying. When we get into these conversations with Globers, we don't have to beg the question with them, but we can speak nicely to them. Now, what is going to happen? They're probably going to paint us with a broad brush. They're probably going to act like bigots in the beginning. They're probably going to say things that are going to get under our craw. Perhaps we just bypass that, sidestep that, like we would if we wouldn't just knock a 5-year-old out, right? Because they're saying something ridiculous. Oh, you're tall and you're bald, so you're Michael Jordan, huh? You play basketball. That's the type of stuff I hear from little kids. So you gotta just go, yeah, all right. Let me tell you something. I think we can evolve into having a better approach. We already have the better arguments.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't even have arguments. We have reality.
No, the main criticism of this show isn't necessarily the information. I mean, it's criticised by the ballers, but that's aside from the point. The presentation style from me and us and how we interact with each other and communicate with the audience is the only criticism, I'm going to say. The only real criticism of the show. That's it. How I hold myself, my language, and how we interact with each other, and how that affects the information that we're putting out. Now, I'm lucky, very lucky, that there's Christians in the community, and I will ascribe this specifically to the Christians in the community, because they're the ones who've actually taken me to one side on more than one occasion and said, I like what you do, but I don't like this. Do something about it. And I've gone, I'll try. Now, I typically fail more than I succeed, but I'm acutely aware of that fact each time I swear, each time we are arguing with each other. That very much stays prevalent in my mind because I've got a caring audience. What do I mean by that? Good that Christians take this as a massive compliment, right? In sales, when you buy a bad product, you don't go back to the store holding the product, pointing out all the flaws, and ask them to write a very carefully worded letter to the manufacturer to make sure that the next product comes out without those flaws. You don't do that. You just buy a different product from a different store. That's what most people do. They're lazy. They're not in the game to tell the person who's sold them something they're not quite satisfied with how to improve upon things. That's not what they do. Now, to tell me how I can improve upon things because someone's dissatisfied with something I do is a very Christian way of being, rather than just walking away, which is much easier. Yeah? Now, the reason I'm highlighting this is because that is the focus maybe for us internally. It's all well and good saying, right, we're in 2025, back to basics. Everyone needs to learn about science and we need to weed out the remaining flat earth believers once the dust settles after TFE. Most of the flat earth believers have buggered off. What we're left with, we need to whip into order and get them understanding how they got into that predicament, I could say it, in the first place, by learning what science is first and foremost. What about us? It's all well and good pointing those fingers out and telling us how we should take ownership and responsibility and be the leaders that we've critiqued Whitsitt and Jaron for not being. What about what we do? Do we hold ourselves as true leaders? I can certainly say I don't. I'm woefully lacking. And why do I know that? Well, not because of any internal critique, because I've had decent people around me to tell me that, to point it out when it occurs. Now, unfortunately for these lads, excuse me, they don't have that, right? Have these guys been told, my God, you guys are crass and crude, and it's doing you no favours? Nah, they're not getting told that. I mean, I might be saying it or hinting at it now, but they don't have that kind of counsel. I'm very fortunate in that regard. So an internal critique of how we behave internally, how we hold ourselves, how we discuss things with each other has got to be refined. Up until now, we're concerned with how that affects our interactions with our opponent. That's what we've been focused on. And it's turned, to a certain degree, some of us into monsters, me included, at certain stages, not generally. But that can all be set aside now. We've gone way beyond that 10 years into this discussion. And why do we need to behave like that is kind of your sentiment to get us right back on track with you and your comments here, Eli, right? Yes. Oh, well, I'm good to hear. But yeah, we do need to point the fingers back at ourselves and start to assess how we're behaving a bit more. I've tried to do it in fits and starts in previous years. I think it should be a much, much higher degree of focus because as big as this might sound, on this channel, we're now getting close to reaching the point where we do actually have influence over people. We are influential.
Well, the MFs and the Ligma, you know what's, those got to go.
Yes.
But as far as the interactions, these things are what kept people here. I mean, when I used to listen to the show and guys would go at it, I mean, that's good. I mean, it never got in the way of me being educated on the nature of our reality or the scientific method.
Yeah, but you're common as muck.
Language.
You're common as muck, Neil. So, no. You know, the builders of the world aren't going to be affected by a bit of blue language.
Hi, Nathan.
Hello.
It's One Deck.
Talking about common as muck.
Did you hear that one, Deck?
What did he say?
He said, talking of common as muck, as you start talking.
That's why he's a cheeky bastard.
That's right.
What I was going to say was, I can totally understand what Eli's saying, because I think I've been through a bit of that myself. And hostile with Globers and getting banned off channels and muted. And I have took that on board to some extent. And recently I've been trying to just like calm myself down and handle these discussions more professionally, I'll say.
Yeah, it's hard when the whole raison d'etre of our opponents on the anti-flat earth side is to rile us up, annoy us, stereotype us, make false quotes up that we haven't said, misrepresent our arguments, strawman us. So when you're dealing with that, and then when you try and rebut it, you just get immediately chanted through or talked through, it's going to raise your blood pressure. Their, like I say, raison d'etre is to do that. That's their purpose in life.
Ballers don't do that to me. Flat
Not
earthers
ballers,
do that to me.
anti-flat earthers.
Them too. They don't bother me. It's flat earthers that say silly things like, I don't teach my children flat earth. Why would I teach them hi-fi and make a bad comparison? You're not teaching them flat earth, you're teaching them reality. You're not teaching them ice walls, you're teaching them reality.
Yes.
You're not teaching them ether, you're teaching them reality.
Yes.
And let them decide
That's
for
what we
themselves.
was.
And yeah, no, he's agreeing with us. He's pointing out that he did understand and was following along, Eli. It seems like you're the one who's got to eat humble pie now. No.
So you agree with us, Neil?
Don't think there ever was a stage he didn't, Eli.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he's saying he agreed, then okay, my bad.
His objection was when I said, why would I give my kids a flat earth lesson? As a soundbite, that sounds awful as far as Neil's concerned. He's like, no, you need to contextualise that. Why would you teach them about ice walls, domes, Neil? Domes.
It was in context. That was the thing when we were saying, why would I teach my kid about flat earth? What I could teach him about is logic. You had already given it context.
Yeah, you're right also. But as a soundbite, I totally understood where Neil was coming from. As an isolated soundbite, as a sentiment that's taken in isolation, you could only say, what Nathan's saying, why would I teach my kids flat earth? In the same way, why would I teach them hi-fi? He gave a great example, Eli. Anyway, we've got it all down.
Example, but my only question was, did you hear everything? Which was because if you heard the context, that
you're
was
smiling.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, you're smiling because you're now cheeky. That is.
Well, it's not cheeky. It's like it's not that a person who would take a soundbite and respond off of that would be someone who didn't hear the context of the conversation. I had to ask if he heard it.
Fair enough. There's no grey area existing anymore. We've smudged it all out. It's nice and colourful now. We all understand what's going on. Right. Any more remarks on the rather crass, rather crude, what were they called again? Stavies. Any other comments? Hopefully a few of you.
Why I came in was because Nathan talked about religion too. He teaches them this and teaches them that. It's fine to teach them history of it, but to teach them it as fact, and this is the way to go, or heliocentrism, this is what we're on, then it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Any more for any more?
Yeah, Elijah's sentiment about these guys feeling like they can't talk this way about flat earthers. That's not going to change unless flat earthers are actually present in their social sphere, interacting with their audiences, for example, showing up in their comment section, giving good arguments, critiquing the bad arguments and the bad behavior, inviting people back to good forums, right? So like Elijah said before, in the past few weeks, like some people, they won't really take flat earth seriously. They won't have it on, or they won't even do anything about it unless they know that enough of their audience is flat earthers who are reasonable and respectful. Then they're going to have a change of heart, because it'll be like, wait a minute, I can't be a bigot to my own audience, and I can't let these guys in my comments treat my audience members like this, right? And the more they allow it to happen, the more they'll be seen as the bad guy rather than the other way around. So part of it is market saturation and actually people going out there and interacting with people.
So yeah, that was basically what I was saying. But what's wrong about that?
Nothing. We just got to work on our PR abilities. That's all.
No, I heard some hemming and hawing from Neil because it was coming from AI. But the thing is, what AI was saying was what I was saying.
I mean,
had
there's
nothing to do with
problem in
AI.
the community there.
We
Like,
do it
for
every day,
example, in the
daily.
past,
We do it every day.
yeah, for example, in the past few weeks, Mr. Elijah, I've been accused of all kinds of bad things for encouraging people to do that kind of stuff. So even within our own community, we can't even get it together to put forth a good foot forward, because people will be encouraging people to do things and then get accused of all kinds of bad stuff. It's very interesting.
Absolutely. That was part of my example when I said that, actually, AI. That is specifically one of the things that we do need to work on internally. But with that, I am going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Already in the subject. When I come into the online version of the subject, listening to the logic of flat earthers like Nathan speak to Globers, and then hearing him get upset because of their tactics, I believe that is essential. People need to hear that or see why he gets upset when he gets upset.
I'd agree with you, but that's all been done. We've done it. There's plenty of documented, justifiable, what you've described, me getting upset with Globers and their tactics to obfuscate the truth, right? But like I said in the live show,
turn into undercover flatties now.
Say that again, Gene. Hold on. Do you want to take Eli? Say that again, Gene.
I said, we're losing the tinfoil hat. We're putting on cool sunglasses, and now we're undercover flat earthers.
You're saying that the loudest voices are the tinfoil hat flat earthers? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm basically saying to get into the conversation that Eli's talking about.
Yeah, I don't want the tinfoil. Sorry, guys. I don't want the tinfoil hat people. I want the me people, the Neil people, the Nathan people. Listen, me and Neil's contention right now, if you'll let me, Neil, is that I'm saying, and I'm saying that AI was saying this, that if it was Nathan going into these other places and having these discussions in the midst of these normies that have bigger platforms, you wouldn't be able to have another podcaster come up and continue strawmanning us, looking at us a certain way, because you have us just out there having real conversations, and people are going to begin to realize, wait a minute, that wasn't his position. That was quite ridiculous. Wait a minute, So my whole point is, we're not doing that. We're doing what we're doing, which is producing a show. We're not on other people's shows or in other people's spaces having discussions like in a Joe Rogan like kind of structure. That's what I want. Don't tell me we're doing that when we're not doing that.
Exactly. That type of conversation we want to be in, those type of rooms. Lose the conspiracy thing.
What the hell is the Flat Earth debate show then? What are we doing here? Nathan, close up shop. Just travel around, going on different shows and having conversations, Nathan.
See, this is why he's getting into it with AI.
The live stream
right there,
chat's
like,
still
so
going, right?
now-
So the live stream's ended, but the chat's still going. And we've got this guy in there, Mag Debates, right? He says, Fatso is a fat girther, lol.
That's funny.
Well, look
Fat girther?
Look at a key point. Look at a key point of the show you just critiqued. What was the show about? Like, truly about? What was it actually about? Was it about flat Earth? No.
Kids.
It was about a relationship between a man and a wife. right?
And kids.
My wife thinks something that I don't agree with. Guess what? I actually love my wife. My wife's the wife of me and the mother of my children, but she believes something other than me. Guess what? Most people who know flat earthers, right? And they're simultaneously being bigots to flat earthers. They also have flat earthers in their lives who are their loved ones. And it's not okay for them to treat people in their own internal community, whether it's their family, their workforce, etc., in that manner. Just like Elijah said. And part of it is because those guys are quiet, because they don't have voices or figures within their community that's speaking up for them, right? So it behooves us to do that, because I've seen many, many times where there's people who don't even realize that the people around them are flat earthers, right? I've had numerous accounts and anecdotes of people saying, oh, once I started talking about it in this manner, all of a sudden it changed, because I realized
I'll
there
give
was
you a
like
real
5 other
example.
flat earthers in my venue that I'm in. Like my workforce has 5 more flat earthers and I didn't even know it. And that didn't happen until I spoke up against somebody, talking shit.
I've spoken about this in the past.
I'll
Go ahead.
give you a real example.
Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off. I just want to insert an actual example. I was on a voice chat or video chat on Facebook with a load of other people. We always talk about many different things: community, love, finances, health, relationships. And someone just casually said, we got to keep, truth the main thing. Like, there are these crazy flat earthers. And I had to go, whoa, 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 buddy. But see, there were other flat earthers in the chat that I knew of that didn't speak up. But I did, because I had the tools. And then Buddy said, oh, okay. Because I didn't say, oh, the ice wall or the this or the that. I was like, well, it measures that way. And then he's like, well, what does that mean? I was like, well, would you like me to pull up a citation? He's like, well, I didn't want to get into it deep like that. I didn't mean to step on anybody's. Yeah, you will respect it. You will. Or you'll have a conversation about it. Which one you want to do?
This is my bus stop example from 4 years ago coming to fruition. Does anybody remember my bus stop example that I hypothetically suggested would be the case? Anybody remember?
Yeah. Paladin ratio. Yeah, I remember that.
There's 4 guys sat at a bus stop. One guy's talking to the other, calling him an idiot because he's a flat earther. And then he turns around and the 2 people sat in the bus stop with him look at him with a very disgusted look. Now he's looking to them like, you're going to agree with me, right? Earth's a ball. And they look back disgusted. And he suddenly realizes that the flat earthers are in the majority in that scenario. That the 2 guys sat peacefully minding their own business, not declaring that they're a flat earther, while the globe-believing numpties shouting it from the frickin' hilltops, annoying everybody around him and chastising somebody else in the bus stop. Suddenly, he's in the minority because the silent majority isn't globe anymore. You're in your office, sat next to somebody like the dick that you are, looking for your own cope, seeking your own affirmation by talking about how Earth's obviously a ball and flat earthers are stupid, and suddenly the woman standing next to you at the photocopier goes, Earth's measured flat. What are you talking about? And then the 2 other people standing around the photocopier look at the person ranting about a ball with the same disgusted look. And suddenly the guy ranting about how he's on a ball is looking at 3 people who are looking back at him in disgust rather than cheering about how stupid flat earthers are. And the guy can't quite believe what's happening. Suddenly he's in the minority. Suddenly he's the idiot with a zealot belief, chanting it and ranting about it and seeming like a nutter.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to say. I had a very specific example of my ex being a glober, and then she bring it up to her best friend and say, well, my boyfriend, he believes in flat earth. And then she confirms, like, yeah, I believe flat earth too. And she just spirals, oh my God, you both are crazy.
Yeah, and then suddenly the person who's challenging the majority is the one ranting and being a loon. It's like you sat around a table and suddenly somebody starts piping up about how these idiots don't realise how all mental health care's stupid. And you go, hang on a second, are you a Scientologist? And they go, yeah, you bloody idiots that aren't Scientologists. And everybody around the table looks at them and like, you're the nutter here.
Hey, can I say something, Nathan? Can I tell you something? A tactic I use? A tactic I use is I kind of weed out the flat earther. I'll, like, if I berate someone, I'll say, "What are you, a fucking flat earther?" Me being, I know I am one, but I always like try to weed them out with an insult. I'll say, oh, that's that flat earth math or something like that. I like weeding them out for some reason.
But that's reverse psychology to weed out anti-flat earthers. Is that what you're saying?
Not anti, just seeing who's on board. That's it. Just getting a gauge of the wind.
I don't know. I don't feel the need to do that, but I'm not going to chastise you for wanting to do that. Fair enough, each their own.
Well, it's good fun. It's just good fun.
Yeah, that's it though. That's it. That's
a math problem.
You say it's good fun, but it's hard to moan about the treatment we receive when it was angels last time. When people say things like that, I know that you want to have a prod, don't you? Fair enough. Everyone can do whatever they like. It's not my bag, right? I don't want to do that. No offense. I don't care who's a flat earther in the room. Do you know what I mean? It's like the same with homeschooling, right? Just on a slightly different tangent, because we've had teaching kids and that's been the subject of the day, right? When I'm out and about, I'm not in any way interested if the people around me do or do not send their kids to a normal school. I don't care.
Nathan, can I just say that I saw that you took quite a bit of flack for playing that video in your live chat. So
Yeah,
I apologise.
I don't normally comment on the chat.
I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, I don't normally comment on the chat. I keep the chat. I'm aware of it. I bring up a super chat immediately, and I'm getting that from the chat, not from like the shortened version in the studio. So I do actually watch the chat, and when I'm watching everyone going, "This is looking bad. This is disgusting. This is disgraceful," I'm thinking, "This is how we look half the time." As crass as it is, I know we're not normally crude like these guys were, but we are as crass as they are most of the time. I don't know if anybody if we all appreciate that. Maybe you should just say, "No, you are, Nathan," and I'd take it if you did. They're a mirror. They're holding up a mirror to us in that regard, right? How we behave. Different but the same.
I like when the FED tears into a glower. I like it, but I mean, there's a line. Of course, there's a line.
Yeah, and I know why people like it, Adam. They like it because
where's that?
They've suffered it. It's retribution. Is that the correct word? Like revenge. Yes. I've dealt with this shit from you assholes telling me I'm a moron for 10 years. Go, Nathan. Rip that globe-believing dickhead a new asshole when he does the same thing to you. Make him feel this big. Yeah, I get it. But that's our own weaknesses. That's our own insecurities that want to egg me on doing that. I'm directing this to you and kind of making it like it's me saying it, Adam. You shouldn't need that, is what I'm saying, right? And having the empathy to realise, no, that's what you're bleating about. Not you personally, but when people say, "Oh, we're so badly treated," you're like, okay, but you want to have a poke, don't you?
But Nathan, I still find it very amusing how we're on the tip of the tongue of two very influential people, Mark Zuckerberg and Joe Rogan. Within minutes of their conversation, they bring us up.
What, flat earthers?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not bringing us up though, are they? They're bringing up Jaren and Whitsitt and ether and ice walls and domes. 10 years ago, everyone would be jumping for joy. And Dave Weiss would be saying, "Yeah, look, we're going mainstream." Well, yeah, now we're there 10 years later. It wasn't a year later like Dave Weiss predicted. It's 10 years later. But now we don't want that to be mainstream. We, us, don't want that, what they're punting into the mainstream, to be mainstream. Far from it. So it's weird how things turn out. Go on.
Joe just had an example of how this can happen, just play out in his show over the past couple of weeks. So for a long time, Joe's had on essentially esoteric scripturalists, right, who claim to be experts in history and all things religion and Bible, etc. One of the famous ones, his name was Billy Carson, and he's always talking about, ancient tablets of Thoth, how the Bible is a ripoff, all this kind of stuff. He makes all these extravagant claims about history being corrupted in the nature in which we've gotten our religions. Lo and behold, because he was talking that, some of his people, would challenge him, and on Billy Carson's channel, but also on Joe Rogan's channel, a lot of his audience was, hey, I like Joe Rogan, but I wish he would have like a real biblical scholar on to rebut this crazy talk. Now, it never happened for a long time until one day, this biblical scholar named Wes Huff, his circles of influence reached to where Billy Carson, through another guy, was going to do kind of like a debate with him. When Billy Carson faced this guy, okay, keep in mind, Billy Carson is essentially just a snake oil salesman in a way, all into esoteric stuff and just, all these conspiracy theories about all this ancient documents. When he met Wes Huff, he got destroyed, literally destroyed. The guy just dismantled him in front of Billy Carson's audience, who, by the way, Billy Carson's audience showed up because they wanted to see Billy Carson smack around a Christian scholar like he usually can get away with, right? So the guy got totally destroyed. Lo and behold, because Joe Rogan had Billy Carson on his channel prior, he ended up getting in touch with Wes Huff. Huff ended up going on Joe Rogan's channel, and he had a 3.5-hour episode where all those people in the comments finally got their fruition, where an actual biblical scholar got to be on that platform. And it happened because smaller platforms where those guys ended up engaging.
Yeah.
And we're not that far off with the segues and circles of separation closing, right?
Correct.
Where that might happen
2 or 3 degrees, right? There's normally, for any normie, between you and King whoever, 6 degrees of separation. Well, when you say the circles, as you put it, closing, yeah, we're now at the point where there's people who are connected to people who are large that are talking to us.
Yep. Exactly. And part of the key of that, which was in that story that I just gave you, was that the audiences of these people followed them around and kept on making sure that everywhere in the venues that they were, so for example, the Joe Rogan venue, people liked Joe Rogan's show, but they also like real biblical scholarship. So they knew that the Bible was being misrepresented on Joe's show, and they would constantly make it known in the comments and in all the forums wherever these guys went. And so there was a circle of degrees of separations of the, let's just call them the celebrity people, like Carson, JRE, and Huff, but then also of their communities actually being involved on the community side. And so there was a saturation in the comments and a saturation among the people that they're interested in this being brought to fruition. And by the way, that's the same thing that happened with Tim Pool. Like Tim Pool polled his audience, should I send my guy to Antarctica? And 99%, this is Tim Pool's words, he said 99% of my audience that commented said I should send them. That means that they're interested in it. It was essentially an upswelling within his community of his commenters and his, what are they called? Subscribers.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And that's to reiterate Elijah's point. Elijah's been saying that for a long time. Like some people, need to just, if they decide they want to do something for the flat Earth cause, let's just use those terminologies. One such thing is to just show up to forums that have circles of separation that you could jump over. Just be present. Just be present there. Be a good voice. Shut down bigots, shut down bad arguments, shut down false claims, et cetera, et cetera. And then other people will see you do that. And then just like the people in the bus stop, they'll recognize, wait a minute, it's actually okay for us to be in this chat. We actually can be here. We don't have to allow ourselves to be bigoted or railed against or just be the laughing stock of this comment section. Guess what? Moderators of those comment sections, and even sometimes the hosts of those comment sections, notice that.
Yeah, I hope people listening take heed. Again, you can only try and influence people by doing it yourself. And when I send people to the various channels that we're critiquing, like today, you hope that will have an influence when people do actually turn up and make those sorts of comments. But that's an attitude, as opposed to when I do it, it's almost a direct order to the audience who are willing to participate in that regard. But I want it to be an attitude, or more accurately, you in this example want it to be an attitude of the people around us, right? It is unfortunate that that happened to be tied to Witsit when it was first postulated by you, and it was shot down so vehemently. Now, you've kept your stance and kept reiterating, and it's an absolutely worthy point. I'm sure now that it's been boiled down, because I'm sure you didn't need the point diluting down so it's so concise that most people can recognize it within 2 or 3 minutes of discussing it. But that has actually been the result, AI. That is to say that your points become more concise, fighting through you being called a scammer or whatever, or being Witsit simp, whatever.
Yeah. I was met with vitriol. That's what I was met with. Let's be frank. That's what I was met with. Vitriol.
I gotta say it. I was saying it first. I've been saying it. I've been saying it since I got on the show.
And what?
Pretty much. That, oh my God, Nathan, you're the best. Come over here. Because I'm not that good. You know, that was years ago. But the example of exactly what we're telling people to do, or the result of that, is the politics server. We didn't have a room in the politics server. You know, it was a place where, you know, with normies all over the place, they're just hitting us with 2015 arguments, and we enjoyed it because they weren't anti-flat earthers. We, you know, our guys and some of us have been in there for hours and hours and days and days. And you know what? The ones that were spewing hate and, you know, aggression against us, and these guys are retarded, why are we even letting them have a room in here, they were shouted down by their own community. And now,
correct,
24/7 is the biggest room they have in there. That's a real
give you
world
some
example.
stats. Yeah, let me give you some stats on that. So the last over the last 30 days, our concurrent user hours in that channel are larger than the next 3 channels combined. Now, keep in mind, the stats may have changed, but as far as I know, the politics server is the biggest social side server on Discord. What I mean by that is it's not associated with gaming or any of those other things which Discord was originally intended for. So it's purely a social platform within the Discord platform. Now, what's palpable to what Elijah said is that when we went over there and we started liaisoning with some of those people, they started to notice that we were able to hold our own against the essentially global bullies that had bullied them, because rest assured, within that server, there were flat earthers that already existed. There were flat earthers who were high-ranking members of that server. They were getting bullied for being a flat earther on the server, so they basically kept it to themselves. But when they saw us doing what we do, they said, wait a minute. Okay, I don't have to be bullied anymore. I don't have to put up with this. And so they actually went out of their way to help us cement our beachhead there. We even had a liaison that was specifically a flat earther who had that sentiment, a high-ranking individual. And so, like, these type of opportunities are out there.
People ask us to do this all the time. The Killer Priest podcast, that's one. There's a host of people that are always reaching out saying, man, can you please come to my server and talk to these people? To be fit to listen, if you guys are hearing me now and you've tried to reach out to me, yes, I've ignored it, and I apologize. Because I'm just one man and I have very limited time with the things that I'm doing right now. But I'm not the only person. Nathan's not the only. There's more of us, and there will be more. And, you know, we're sticking to the fundamental things that are important. So that the earth is measured flat.
Did you say got a new girlfriend?
2.
So did you say you'd got a new girlfriend?
And I said 2.
2.
Oh, you said 2. Oh. My God.
Lucky it wasn't just one, because I was going to ask, what's his name?
Well, now you're going to have to say there. Use your pronouns.
Well, I won't ask again about your harem.
Anyway.
Nice
Well,
scarf.
I've got a technical question to ask when you're ready, guys.
Thank you.
Technical question.
Brian's not here, I'm
ready?
afraid.
Okay, well, I'll ask it
Brian's
anyway.
not
Well, I
here,
was
we
in
can't answer
the
I'll write it down.
I was
and
in
ask
the
Brian
Earth
later.
Awakening server. I was in the Earth Awakening server, and someone was talking about spectroscopy, being able to discern what the sun is doing and the makeup of the sun. That's all. That's what the question is. I said I said that's impossible. Am I wrong? Enlighten me.
You say what you're saying is you responded with a baseless assertion. Now you're checking if your baseless assertion and hand wave dismissal of their claim because you didn't know anything about it is correct or not. Is that correct?
Not really. No, I had some ideas in that. I said that distance to the sun is not known. So how can you validate that your equipment actually is working? And how are you able to do that when you know?
Yeah, that's crap. Okay,
yeah?
right. There's two different types of spectroscopy. There's stellar and
go ahead.
terrestrial, right? Terrestrial.
No.
What's this? It's just spectroscopy and stellar spectroscopy, correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
You go ahead.
Now, you see, I've taught on this. There's 2 videos on my channel. All I have to do is type in spectroscopy. I did it twice. Yeah. So why should you be guessing?
I was going to go through things.
Not you.
Oh, sorry.
Not you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Didn't take
Okay.
notes.
Yeah. I'll take the punch in the gut. Okay. Right now, I'll look on your channel then. Thank you.
Okay.
But I was going on my own experience of knowledge. It might be minuscule, but I seem to overturn them though because I think distance is a problem for that. Is it not?
No, distance has nothing to do with it. Indirectly, because number one, spectroscopy is not science. Number 2, it can only be done in an enclosed system, right? What are the types of spectroscopy? Now, let me rephrase that. I just woke up. What are the types of spectra? I'll keep it simple.
Visible,
Emission, absorption, and continuous. Correct?
Just say yes.
Yeah. Just say yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, QE. Yeah, I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way you could tell. What was the initial question from the?
No, what the sun is.
If you could tell, the question was this: if you could tell that the sun is nuclear fusion and what it's doing on the inner part of the sun and the surface of the sun, and they were using spectroscopy as the reason why they knew.
You can't. You cannot.
And that's what I said. I said you cannot. That's what I said. Yeah.
But do you know why you can't? Jin? We already know you don't. Go ahead, QE.
Dude, I just woke up, man. I can't.
So QE's alluded to it already, right? If you're doing spectroscopy here and you can isolate what you're studying in terms of the light, then that's fine. But if you're looking at something that is claimed to be, as you put it, very far away, which is why QE said it was indirectly associated, then you're not isolating what is assessed between you and that light. So how is it being done? Well, it's being done presumably from a telescope here on the ground or in, quote, low Earth orbit. And if you're going to suggest that that's the case, are you doing it in an isolated circumstance, in a nice little container where you've evacuated everything else other than what you're studying when you presumably set it on fire or whatever you do to get it to induce some light? Well, no, you're just looking through the vastness and emptiness of what they claim is space and then looking at a light that's completely unisolated. You haven't got any control over it. So from that perspective, you're not doing the legitimate version of what could be considered legitimate when you look at spectroscopy in an isolated way. Is that good enough, QE?
No. That's exactly what I said. Sorry, that's exactly what I said.
Hold on, I'm asking QE, not Eugene. Sorry.
Yeah, so to tell what type of spectra is identified, is used with sun identification? Emission or absorption spectra? Anyone know?
They claim it's absorption, but then they have a bit of a problem with Go on.
Its absorption spectra, they're not telling you what the makeup of the sun is. They're telling you what the makeup, in the best case scenario, the makeup between you and the sun. Because gases only emit and absorb in what? Bands. Yeah? So they can only tell you what is between you and another object, or the gases between you and another object, because you're only getting bands. You're not getting continuous spectra from the sun. No way. Just go to my presentation, Jen. Find it on my channel and go through it.
I will do.
Also claimed
I'm loving your channel, by the way.
It's also claimed to be a black
so I will
body.
look into it.
Jen.
The other thing is they were talking about frequencies coming from the sun, light frequencies and things like this is what they were talking about, really.
Right, but it's also claimed to be a black body in their rhetoric.
Anyway, I shut them down anyway. Because you can't, that's what I said.
That's not too hard. It's not too difficult, because I jumped in there. Yeah. Well, I listened to, they have a YouTube section, and that's ironic you said something. So what I call it now is the 2015 Land of Misfit Toys. I went in there yesterday listening to their gibberish from the Land of Misfit Toys. You won't believe what's happening over there now. You've got Negator, Zanuck, some other baltards that claim they're PhDs in physics. This guy, this PhD in physics guy, went on and on and on about inertial navigation systems, maybe for like 10 minutes. And then the next statement out of his mouth was that his fairy tale atmosphere spun with the Earth. Can he tell me where the inertial system is then? That's how stupid it is. They're back in 2015 arguments. I'm talking about people that used to hang around us and in Gem Panda server.
Yep.
And the things that I got from my numpty clips, where they had great arguments, they have now, I'm talking about the flat earthers, potential flat earthers. Now, I don't even think they are. They've regressed. They can't identify the simple arguments that destroy globetards. So, do you want to know what the worst thing about this is? About flat Earth? Go to their server. There they are. Right there. I can name them off for you if you want.
So unfortunately true. But they've been like that from the beginning, though. It's like being in a race and you see you're peeling off away from these people. They've been stuck for a long time, bro. They've just been
they're not
bouncing to
peeling off.
different places.
They've turned around and ran in the other direction in the race. I'm serious. I couldn't believe my ears. In fact, I posted it in 2014. What's that? I posted it in 24/7 yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. Did I post it in Skype? I might have. Hold on. You ain't it now. It's long, right? Hold on a second. It's like one of the 24/7 streams, but you can flip. You can thumb your way through it.
Yeah.
I thought I did. I'll snatch it. I'll put it in Master B or something here in a few minutes. I just woke up. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right. It was something that I wanted to go back to.
Yeah, cheers and good morning and cheers. Yeah.
He'll be right back. Some flat earthers will argue they have to beg the question, or they have to get into the rhetoric of the globe or heliocentrism, this, that, and the third. And I realize I do that too. It's just, I use things as a jab, not as a hook, not as an uppercut, not as a knockout punch, just as a jab to stop their momentum. One of the conversations I had over, I was with friends, right? And my girl just says, "Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, so he's probably a flat earther and stuff." She knows that I am, so I'm like, "Oh, fuck!" She just dropped me into this like situation, and they're like, "What? Da 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 da. No, hey, how do seasons work? Blah blah blah. It gets hot, and then I was like, that's interesting because did you know that when the sun is further away, it's hotter?" And they're like, "What?" I was like, "We don't have to get into this, but it gets really weird really fast." And it was a way to, and they slowed down like shit like that. I don't just super dig into that stuff though. I just use it kind of as a jab, as a way to deter them from going off the deep end by telling them something about their paradigm they don't know. Not that I'm gonna anchor there anyway.
So you're saying it's the Witsit way of doing things. Debunk the globe.
Did I say that?
We're breaking your chops, Eli.
Speaking of Witsit, I got an awesome screenshot from the Island of Misfit Toys because Quantum, on your advice, I went and listened to that, but I actually chimed in right on why they were live because that stream was still live, and Witsit was talking to somebody about the sun, but the funny part was somebody in the comment section wrote this over their conversation. "Hey Geo, can we just get back to talking about video games and drugs? This is boring." I think that might be part of the problem over there.
I didn't catch the last part of it. Just caught what's it. Yeah, I sent it to 24/7. So you were listening to it?
Yeah, but I chimed in when it was live and they were talking about the sun, but someone in the comments was like, "Geo, this is so boring. Can't we just get back to talking about video games and drugs?"
Yeah, that's yeah. That's about, I don't know what they do, but I just caught that last one. How long? Never mind.
Dude,
That
there
all
was
you
a
got?
guy. So there's a guy on there when I started watching, and I clipped it out beforehand because I want to clip out the larger context. So I think this guy was one of the guys that went down with the TFE, or he said he trained Elizabeth in how to view the sun, and he was making an argument that if the Earth was flat and the sun was above the Earth and it was touching the horizon visually, that it would essentially have to be touching the horizon physically. So if the sun was 3,000 miles high, in order for it to touch the horizon, it'd have to be 3,000 mile radius. You see what he's saying there? Like it'd have to physically touch the Earth in order for it to not change angular size. And I'm like, none of the people,
Yeah, that
none
was
of the flat
today.
earthers in the room. Yeah, it was just last night. Yeah, for me, it's last night.
Yeah, I was there.
So none of the
I was there,
none of
yeah.
the flat earthers in the room really held him to task on that while I was there or while I was listening.
I was trying to get in there. I was trying to get in there with
Yeah,
the
I
chimney
heard you
sweep
come in
noises.
just as I was heading out. I don't know what you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
to him.
I started making some big noise in there about all that in the end. Yeah, and I actually tried to because sometimes Witsit explains something just a little complicated, so I broke it down and explained it much easier. I stood my ground, with that same character that was going on about that 3,000.
A little complicated.
I was trying to get him to say, well, if it touched the fucking horizon physically, you'd have some steam coming up, wouldn't you? You know
See,
what I mean?
mind you, there's a
Yeah,
difference
so
between.
hey, dude, anybody at the Suns GP would be getting their head boiled off.
Yeah, so look,
Yeah.
we take over neutral platforms with normie people. See, what Earth Awakening's server is, in my opinion, is just an opinion. It's a taken over by ballers and other in name flat earthers, but I don't see it kind of types. Like there are no genuine people in there that come in and add like it's not a new crowd. It's just a bunch of old people. We don't want to waste our time there. We just leave them dead where they're at. So we're clear.
That may be fair comparison because a lot of these little venues that started, they they started, Elijah, in direct contradiction from our venues. Like they did it out of, we're going to do it better than you. That's basically what they did. They said, we're going to go make the nice server where everybody's nice to the Globers, everybody gets a chance to speak. And this is not to assuage anything that Nathan said about, being more palatable to a wider audience versus being mean to people, but like it's just a palpable point that they ventured out, like Geo and the guys who did the Asylum, like they were intentionally venturing out in contradiction to things that 24/7 and FED were doing back then. Like they said, we're going to go out and make our own thing and it's going to be the best because you guys suck. That's basically what their plan was.
Yeah, I remember that clearly because I was there, like opening day of the server. I was there, and that's what they were talking about. Actually, maybe about 5 years ago or so. Yeah, 5 years ago, something like that. Maybe a bit more. Maybe 6 years ago. Yeah, Earth Awakenings. I was there, and that's what they were talking about. And I was surprised
Earth Awakening.
because what happened was
Awakening.
Geo was on 24/7. Geo was on 24/7, and there was a period where I wasn't there. Just for a short while, come back. Geo had gone, and I thought, wow, what's happened to Geo? Some kind of political happening happened. Oh, all right. And then a few weeks down to a month later, we're hearing that there's a new server coming up. Geo's putting a new server up, coming down a grapevine. I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then I spoke to Geo and said, well, I'm sorry you've gone, mate. There's a little bit of a hole there, because I did like what he had to say. And then he sent me the link to his server, and then that's when I got in there. Been there ever since, passing through. So what you said is right, AI. Bang on.
Yeah, it's not like I always thought it was a waste to be in the server. I mean, my boy Globus hit me up, told me, hey, you should come in there with your FED flavor. I was like, all right, cool. And I did. And a lot of good things did happen. There were a few people that were in there that may have had some misconceptions about FED that I was able to rid them of, give them some good arguments. But ultimately, the moderators and the main flat earthers kind of did their best to skirt those things and disregard those things, like, the black swan not really being a good argument because of refraction. And so the ballers do this and we do that. So can't we do something that really proves flat earth? Is always their MO. And, ultimately they've halted all flat earth argument progression. They weren't with the elevation angle argument. At best, they'll accept that it could work on a globe too, which means, okay, you're not understanding the argument. You're not understanding the truth of the matter. And that's kind of what I've noticed and why I stopped going there. Every time there's a solid argument or something fundamental that should be exposed is not getting exposed, mainly because of the people that run the server too. So.
Because she said they don't understand.
Yes.
The elevation argument, not an argument, it's the reality, right? But they don't know it's a reality. When I measure things, it's for reality. It's not an argument, but they think it's an argument. Yeah. And that's the problem.
I don't like to talk about people when they're not here to defend themselves. But Jeremy is one of them that does what you just said there, because we got a solid point. I'm riding high. I'm just about, and then, it gets diffused within a second or two and they've gone into a different direction for a silly little interruption just at a crucial point. And we're losing that punchline, that clean takedown. And it's annoying. It's annoying.
Deliberately.
There are times when I've said to Jeremy, you're not a flat earther. You can't be. And then it's just annoying that when they do that, what you said, amount of times I've had to shout. I've had to shout to get the words in. I said, look, if I have to shout to get the mic, it means you're not sharing the mic. Remember, I'm not here to nonsense and then not be able to respond. Okay, that's a waste of my time. I don't want to be wasting my time on this server. Yeah. So when I come in, know that I want to speak. Yeah. I'm not just a listener. I'm not a speaker.
No,
You know, in
Jin,
the
you
sense of,
gotta let them get their claims out, Jin. No matter how stupid they are, you gotta let them fully speak.
Yeah. I get muted, get kicked out, mute, blah, blah, you know. Yeah. All the time with this lot. But, you know, I still fight through. The truth has to come out. And that's what I do, man. I scream at them.
See, that's why Nathan gets credit, because he doesn't let them spew their nonsense or chant their rhetoric. Stops them dead.
I've noticed that they mute me like that. Now others in there get a little bit of leeway. You know, like if I'm accidentally hot micing, and it's only because I'm trying to mute my mic, they've muted me before I even get to my button. Do you know what I mean? And then I'm waiting for them to unmute me, and then I have to go in and say, okay, can you now give me my mic back, basically? Silly people. Those moderators in there are right idiots. They are. So, you know, I have a tough time just grabbing that mic to get my point out. But of recent months, I'll say that I've been, you know, it's been a bit easier. But, you know, yeah, what was said earlier on was perfectly bang on. You know, they're not pushing their hardcore points.
They don't like that QE labeled them the land of the misfit toys, but they've done nothing to change that narrative.
Yeah, I, that's right. And when I said, well, you know, when QE and Nathan together with Brian, and who was the fourth character? Was it Adam Aiken? I think it was. And you know, all together they did that flat line with the Honolulu aircraft, pitch data, black box. I took that immediately like Superman, straight over to them, and I said, right now, listen up. Yeah, shut up and listen up. Now, QE's put out some video here. It's a slam dunk. As of today, when I put this in here, I don't want to hear any flat earther losing any battle or any argument with this information that we have here now about planes flying over the globe Earth, okay? Do you hear me? I don't hear anybody speaking, but here's the video. And I did that solid for 3 days. 3